everyone, and welcome back to this fantastic episode of the Insurtech Business Series. I'm sure that you've had an awesome weekend. I can say for myself that it was quite busy, and it was a time for me to catch up on social media trends, which, by the way, I'm going to come back to. But first, I'd like to ask how my co-host's weekend went as well. Damola.
I had to take a good rest. It's been a very hectic week, and I was borderline of breaking down, so I had to just take rest and get some time off.
Yeah, I agree. Rest is necessary. After the hustle and bustle of every other thing, I tell myself that entities are going concern. Your health is also as important as the work that you put in. So hope you are better now, Damola.
Yes, I am. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. So, talking about social media trend now, was there any point you were following up on social media? Because there were a lot of activities, but some of the things that just, sort of excited me during the weekend was the fact that we had one of the acclaimed African giants, Burna Boy, win the Grammy, which, although he's not the first Nigerian to, but it just made a lot of impact. And then as well as Wizkid, and seeing Davido coming to America too was also very exciting. It sort of lit up a lot of people's hearts. In fact, those that were beefing him. So I think that we're making impact in that industry. What do you think, Damola?
Yes, it was very interesting to see all of these things that you said. Coming to America too was a nice movie, and then seeing Davido was quite interesting and quite nice. And congratulations to Wizkid and Burna Boy. It just speaks to the kind of impact that our music is doing around the world, and the levels that it can still go to, because these guys are putting in the hard work and they're putting out fantastic records, back to back, and they are getting the recognition that they deserve.
Yeah. So talking about recognition, that tends to show that there's a lot going on in the gig economy, or should I say the passion economy, because we've been having a lot of people that are, social media influencers, a lot of people that are in that space that are beginning to gain traction. And so it's showing that there's actually a lot of opportunities, insurance opportunities as well within that space. Right, Damola? What do you think about the fashion economy now?
Yeah, I think it's the future, right? We are beginning to see a lot of people engaged in a number of things, gigs, as they call it, influencers, like you said, social media influencers, and people doing work online, using Fiverr and things like that. And those are things that we'll definitely begin to see, especially, following the pandemic and, the future of work generally. There'll be a lot of leverage of the internet and things like that, remote working and things like that. So the nature of work has changed forever. So how do we realize that fact as an insurance industry and then create solutions for this market is something exciting to hear about.
Okay, and so because of that, there's already someone that has been doing that in Australia, I think for over 4 years now. She's a power woman.
Yeah, we'll be speaking with Nabi Mariam. Nabi Mariam is a founder of Cover Hero. Cover Hero is an insurtech startup based out of Sydney, Australia. Yes, you heard that right, Sydney, Australia. So we're going to be speaking with her as regards the gig economy, why she, has gone into that space and some of the things that she has done and the benefits of that solution through the gig economy. What exactly the future holds for that, segment. So yeah, it's going to be super interesting to hear our thoughts on all of that.
All right. So on that note, please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hello, this is Dr. Robin Kira from Hamburg, Germany, listening to IBS Podcast.
Hi, Nabi.
Hey, how you going?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. It's super early on a Saturday morning. I would rather be sleeping, but hey, we're all here talking about insurance technology.
Yeah, great. I mean, that's super interesting, and I mean, I'm talking to the future here because it's Friday here, so that's quite interesting.
That's right.
Right.
Yes, I can tell you what happens in the future. Nothing different.
Thank you for the heads up. Thank you. Great. So let's start off. Who is Nabi? Tell us about yourself.
I have a social science background. I worked in academia for a very long time before I started Cover Hero. I started Cover Hero about 4 years ago after having a really terrible insurance experience, and that got me curious enough and also a little bit angry about the insurance industry. And I thought, something needs to happen. So I gave it a shot. I started, and here we are in 2021.
Wow, that's quite interesting. You mentioned that you had a not so pleasant insurance experience. You care to share what that is, and how that's really factored into starting off the Cover Hero journey.
Yeah, so I was working with my boyfriend about 4 years ago, both entrepreneurs, and he got very sick just before his birthday, which was 2 weeks away, and it was cancer, and we had to lodge all these insurance claims, and all of it got rejected, and it was a very traumatic experience. So then, the relationship ended. He recovered. I was, I had no job. I was broke at home, heartbroken, and very angry at the insurance industry because I've lost so much money. I've lost pretty much everything. And I called a friend of mine that I did my previous startup with, and he was working on this insurance thing, and I said, "Hey dude, what are you working on? I want in. I want to know what you're doing." And that's kind of how it started, and then it evolved over the last 4 years. Not having an insurance background, it was a massive learning curve for me to understand. So I traveled all around the world speaking to insurtechs and insurers in Europe, in North America, in Asia. I have spoken to, over the last 4 years, probably over 300 insurance executives and a lot of insurtech startups, and spoken at many conferences around this topic. So it's like an accelerated PhD on insurance in the last 4 years.
Yeah, because okay, so before we go into the really serious stuff, I want to get to really know about you and your journeys and your background, your career, and things like that. But let's start off with life in Australia. How are people in Australia today? Following the COVID-19 and things like that. And if I'm coming to Australia tomorrow, what things should I be trying out when I come?
So the first thing is, when you come to Australia, you're going to get quarantined for 14 days. So we have strict quarantine rules here. But once the quarantine is over, then you can do whatever you want. Anything is possible. You can go to the beach, you can go to restaurants, you can go to parties. And it's like life, pretty much life before COVID. There's still precaution, still wear masks on public transport. Outside of that, people are returning back to work. A lot of people are still working remotely. I'm still working remotely, but I've started going back into the city 1 day a week. Still, the conferences and stuff face to face as starting off. So I am, for the first time, traveling to another state for International Women's Day in March for a face-to-face conference. So that would be interesting.
We also, we started off a conference last year, and we are super hopeful that we can have a physical one this year. So we have our fingers crossed. Things are getting a lot better here as well too. Yeah, but precaution is still very much advised and things like that. Yeah. So I don't mean to be a spoil sport, because you mentioned a lot of things interesting there about Australia, but why do you have so much spiders?
Well, you should know I actually have a spider in my living room right now.
What?
Yeah. And about a few weeks ago, I was going to bed, and I always have a glass of water next to my bed. And when I went to bed, there was a big spider inside my glass of water.
Wow.
I was scared. I was so scared. It was so hot that day. The spider probably was thirsty. Then I had to kill it. Like, I couldn't sleep next to a spider. But otherwise, if a spider's there, we just let it be. It's a big part of Australia, so we let the spider just chill out with us,
That's quite interesting. Yeah, so from normalizing living with spiders now to normalizing your career being around insurance, how did that journey come around, right? I was looking at your LinkedIn profile, and I think you started off being a lecturer or something.
Yeah, so I was in academia for a very long time, and I was kind of bored. And before Cover Hero, I had another startup, which was a rideshare platform for kids. And then, as I said, after this traumatic experience, I was determined to solve the problem of insurance. So I was like, let's start, and I just gave it a shot.
That's interesting. That's very, very interesting. Now that you're in the insurance space, maybe you can start off by you can share insights about the Australian insurance market and maybe the insurtech landscape, and what the impact of COVID has had on that space.
I think with the larger insurers, COVID has kind of slowed their innovation. And as it is, Australia, compared to other markets, like, for example, in North America, it moves a lot slower from the insurer's side. But insurtechs, we have about 120 insurtechs in the Australian ecosystem. We have Insurtech Australia. In terms of the types of insurtechs that we see, majority of them are enabling technology. So various different kinds of solutions to help the incumbents acquire customers better or save the costs within the organizations, or better underwriting or claims. A lot of claims technology is out there, little tools that can help. We, on the other hand, are a full stack. So looking at creating new insurance products, building the whole insurance stack from the ground up, and creating consumer-facing products. Our product is embedded insurance. So it's slightly different. A lot of players are coming into the market. It's still very frustrating in the Australian market because it's very slow and small compared to North America. Like, for example, Australian population is 25 million, whereas you look at North America, it's about 350 million. So you can see the size.
But with 150 players, that's impressive. It seems like there's a lot more push towards adoption of technology.
Absolutely, there is a lot, and a lot of the SaaS kind of companies, you can very easily scale up all around the world. You don't have to limit yourself. But for us, scaling to other jurisdictions is a little bit slower. Licensing, compliance, regulation, all of those things kind of slows it down.
I think that's a good segue to asking about Cover Hero, and can you tell us a bit about that, and why are you focused on the market segment that you are actually focused on?
So for us, we like solving problems that we face. So being an entrepreneur for so long, and after this traumatic experience, the crux of it is when you are a self-employed person, you don't have a financial safety net, and if something happens to you, what are you going to fall back on? So protecting your income is an extremely valuable and should be a fundamental part of doing business is protecting that income that you earn, because you never know when something's going to happen. Nobody predicted the pandemic, and a health crisis is something that we can't predict. That you can whether it's a mental health crisis or physical health crisis, and financial well-being is deeply correlated with your mental well-being. So because of the nature of all of these things, and having built a marketplace before, it's the cross-section of insurance and entrepreneurship. So it's a very easy thing for us to design and develop because we live and breathe the problem that we are trying to solve. So that's why we designed Hustle Cover as a product to protect the income of hustlers, all kinds of hustlers, self-employed people, and power the passion economy. Because in about 3 years, which is not a very long time, more than 50% of the global workforce is going to be self-employed, and financial services system isn't designed to cater for it. So we are in a very good position to fill this massive gap in the market.
That's huge, right? But I mean, to really just shed more light about what exactly this market is. For a lot of people, I mean, for insurance generally, we are more concerned about the the commercial lines, and things like that. Even the retail market is not so much explored, right? And then now you're looking at a segment of the market that really there have not been products that fits their way of operation and things like that, and their needs, right? And so how does Nabi, how does your business define this gig economy, this passion economy that you explained?
Yeah, there are so many misconceptions around the gig economy. So let's define what the gig economy is. There are multiple buckets of the gig economy. So there is platform workers, so you people that are using platforms to monetize their passion. Then and even within the platform ecosystem, there are episodic transactions that happen. For example, Uber drivers, right? They transact, they get paid per transaction. And if a contrast to that would be Instagram. If you are an Instagram influencer or a digital marketer, and we see huge groups of people in this particular segment, they do reels, they do sell their digital courses, and people sign up, they sell merchandise. So using a platform to monetize. Shopify is a really great example. You have all of these knowledge work platforms. So every single industry that you can imagine, there is a platform that is democratizing and lowering the barriers of access. So it's very easy to start a business today with all of the digital platforms that are available. So if we look, the way we structure the passion economy is, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy, you have workers across the spectrum, even in the passion economy or the gig economy. So the financial needs and the requirements requirements are different across that spectrum. So people at the bottom of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, their basic needs are putting food on the table, having a roof over their head. So they're not necessarily thinking about financial well-being or savings or retirement, because they have to get their needs met, the basic needs met. And as you go above to the top around self-actualization, you see a lot of people in the knowledge workforce that are high income earners, that are quite financially literate, still running their own businesses. And the core problems of running an own business on your own as a single person is you have to make a lot of decisions. You have to build the business, do the marketing, design the product, pay invoices, and the everyday running of the business, and then thinking about your own financial well-being. So if you think about a corporate job, human resources was responsible for employee well-being. Now, when you are self-employed, you don't have a human resources department. So therefore, you have to think about it. So we're seeing various different kinds of companies coming into the market. Payday lenders is a very good example of a fintech solution helping the same segment that we're helping. So we're helping from an insurance perspective. So we're seeing lots of other fintech solutions coming into the market, helping people save for retirement, protecting their income now, protecting their income for the future, and helping people invest. So we will see a huge growth of various different kinds of financial solutions targeting this segment.
That's quite interesting. And for Cover Hero, right? How has, I mean, from when it all started off and now, I mean, I know that things are still going to go some way in the future now, but from when you started up until now, how has the reception been, and what kind of impact has your business been able to make to the lives of gig economy workers?
It's still very early days for us at the moment. It took us a long time to get to market. There are a number of challenges in terms of, finding the right capacity provider, building the product, raising capital. So we have some very big partnerships that we'll be announcing soon. Last year was all about preserving cash. How do we respond to a crisis? How do we make sure that we get through to the other side of this pandemic and still have a business to run? So that was our strategy for last year, and this year is all about growth. So very excited about our growth journey and looking at expansion in the next coming years.
That's interesting. So I know you mentioned what last year was and how you reacted to the pandemic. Yeah, but did the pandemic in itself change anything for you or for your business as regards how you approach the market? Did it validate anything that you were doing before, or you say, oh, this has to change or something like that?
Yeah, definitely, because of the pandemic, it accelerated the need for this product. Many people were furloughed and lost their jobs, and that was an opportunity for people to start their businesses. And we're seeing a lot of people start their own little side hustles and jumping into entrepreneurship. And micro entrepreneurship is rising. It is not that well understood by the market. So that was one of the best things that happened. For example, if you look at the global trends, the companies that really thrived and survived was digital businesses in education, e-commerce and online retail was a huge growth sector. And if you look at the interconnectedness of micro entrepreneurs, and these sectors were driven by micro entrepreneurship. So people can start an e-commerce store in a week and get it up and running, and people can sell stuff online. And if we think about education and online courses, same. Anybody can design an online course and sell acquiring customers is so accessible. You just run some Instagram ads or Facebook ads, build a simple funnel, and then you have a steady stream of income. So it made things possible because the pandemic forced people to think differently, to find a way to survive in a very unfortunate circumstances, and human beings are extremely adaptable to challenges and change, and that was the outcome of the pandemic.
Wow, that's great. And I know you mentioned a bit about people needing to think differently and approach it differently because of the pandemic. So does that speak as well to the insurers who you are partnering with? I mean, you mentioned that you're looking to announce a couple of partnerships here, but so did the pandemic change things? I mean, in terms of how your engagement has been with insurers?
Not for us, because we don't sell software to the insurers. So for companies that were looking at insurers as clients to buy their technology, it may have affected them because the companies opted in for crisis response strategy to pause things. So for us, all of our partnerships were already in place. So it didn't really affect. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe if you can share how exactly your model works. Is this based on partnerships or so maybe I could just give you time, maybe just share how your model works and how people can definitely get to now benefit from these products that you offer.
So currently we have a retail product. People can just go to our website and buy the right insurance. It takes about 30 seconds to buy income protection. We cover 20 different occupations, starting from drivers, riders, to software engineers, YouTubers, Instagram influencers, everything and anything in between we can cover. So we partner with Lloyd's cover holder here in Australia called Agile Underwriting, and we design products together with them, and we build the technology to deliver on this particular solution.
That's great. So looking at the insurtech space globally now, I know that you speak at events and you're quite active on LinkedIn and engaging conversations around insurtech and how we can really use that to change the way we offer insurance to people. And I mean, you yourself, your company is pioneering a sector that is really quite interesting. And what do you think the future holds for insurtech globally? There are a lot of activities that have happened in the past year. IPOs, plan of IPOs. Insurers, investing in insurtechs, and things like that. What do you think the future holds for insurtech generally?
In insurtech, we have to look at various different solutions because it's so broad. If we look at customer-facing, direct-to-customer products, we would see a lot of specialization and a lot of verticalization across insurance lines, and more. And then there are the enabling technologies that are enhancing the customer experience or improving. Data is going to be very interesting. If we look at the banking or fintech sector broadly, open banking is so far ahead of the curve than open insurance. I think we're still a little bit far behind when it comes to proliferation of the data. It's still locked up inside the insurance companies. So when that data becomes available, we would see exponential growth from the insurtechs in terms of designing better products, being able to really leverage this data that is that is stuck inside the insurance companies. So that would be something very, very exciting. And, cyber insurance has been such a hot topic. And so that's very trendy at the moment. A lot of connected devices, IoT devices, it's still very early days around connected devices and leveraging that. Blockchain is another interesting thing to talk about. We still haven't seen mass adoption. I think there's some interesting case studies and experiments and white papers. Something that I am deeply interested is in climate or decarbonization solutions and integration of climate technology into the finance sector as a mechanism of meeting the net zero emission Paris Agreement target. And there are some cool companies working on these kinds of solutions. So I'm very excited to see the intersection of climate technology and fintech and insurtech coming together to provide solutions that would enable customer choice to reduce the carbon footprint or to decarbonize the planet, and financial services sector as a mechanism to drive that change. Because if we want to reduce or decarbonize the planet, there are two ways to do it. The corporates need to reduce their carbon emission, and then consumers need to reduce their carbon emission. So, and that's the way to go about it. And to be able to do that, we can design technology and products with these mechanisms embedded into it to make it super easy for consumers to reduce their carbon footprint.
A few things that you mentioned there that quite interest me. Firstly is the blockchain. So this is something that I'm learning about. I mean, the whole blockchain idea. I know that there is usually this misconception, cryptocurrency, blockchain. Cryptocurrency is kind of like a use case for blockchain technology, right? And so it's going to be interesting to see how insurance, takes advantage of blockchain technology with all of the opportunities that it can bring. It's still early days, right? So there are a lot of learnings that still has to go, into that. So super interesting. And then embedded insurance. I think that is something huge. That's something that we are definitely going to begin to see. And I mean, these two concepts really just point something to me about being closer to the customer and the idea around trust. So I wanted to ask here now, insurance, worldwide, right, struggles with this issue of trust, and things like that. How is that in your part of the world? And do you think that all of these technologies in itself can help to solve this issue?
Embedded insurance, without a doubt, is the future. We see embedded finance kind of maturing across the board in certain verticals. For example, it started off with payments technology like the Stripe, like companies. Then you see buy now, pay later companies like Klarna and Afterpay, micro lending products coming into the market, being closer to the customer. And then in embedded insurance, across the verticals, it is definitely happening. It's still very early days. I think the insurers are the ones that are nervous about it because it's a totally new paradigm for the insurers and the incumbents, because they are not used to distribution through technology. And that's very new, and therefore the systems and the processes aren't designed for such radical transformation. So it's a concept that is difficult for the incumbents to comprehend. One of the challenges of that is in technology, we have cross-functional teams designing the product with designers, engineers, compliance, all the different functionalities, all of the ingredients of the cake needs to be there. Whereas in the insurance industry, there is no cake. All the ingredients are scattered everywhere and nobody is trying to bake a cake. And embedded insurance is like baking the cake, where you put all of these ingredients together, and then once you put all those ingredients together, then only you can have the cake. So to help an industry that has function without the cake, to put those ingredients together is a big shift. And if you look at the value chain, you have the reinsurers, you have the brokers, then you have the primary care carriers, then you have another broker, then you have an underwriting agency, and you have another broker. So it's such a broker-led industry without the technology, and the insurance products are not designed for the customer that's paying for it. The insurance product was designed for the broker to sell it to an end user. So when you're designing product for the end user and you have no deep insight and you are not close to the customer, is going to be very challenging. And with our experience, insurers are keen to learn. It's deeply frustrating for us because the time and energy that is taken to educate and shift their thinking, to build trust, to make them feel comfortable enough with the technology is the most challenging thing about being in this space. Like, building products is easy, connecting with customers is easy, designing amazing products is easy, finding partners is easy. Helping insurers shift their thinking is like trying to create a new religion.
For you now, how easy is it to build and run an insurtech? I'm asking this maybe selfishly.
To build an insurtech depends on what you're building. Depends on what solutions that you want to build. Entrepreneurship is difficult. Building products requires talent and resilience and ideas and partnerships. So building anything is difficult because you need a lot of patience. A lot of things might not go the way you want it to go. And when you get knocked back down, do you have the capability of getting back up again and thriving and striving and not be disheartened, because you have to knock on many doors for even one door to open. So that is the challenge with entrepreneurship or starting anything, is one, access to network, connecting, having the courage and bravery to persevere to get to the end goal, which is the vision of the company.
Sounds interesting, and something that you really need to be passionate about and focus on the goal, and just walk through on any of the challenges that you might face. So yeah, thanks for that. So for Cover Hero, what does the future hold? I mean, you mentioned earlier about that it being early days and looking at partnerships to be announced soon, which that's quite interesting. But what does the future hold? Where do you see Cover Hero, playing in a couple of years' time?
I think for us is being the number one brand that solves the problem for self-employed people. That is our end goal, to be embedded into any platform that is part of the passion economy, and that would be the holy grail.
Wow, that's very, very specific, and I like the fact that you focused on that space, which like you mentioned is growing, the growing space, and there are a lot of opportunities that would definitely open up. So I know you have a podcast series. Can you tell us a bit about what that is and how people can really connect and listen to it?
Yeah, Hustle Chat is about entrepreneurship and the passion economy. We like talking about talking to leaders in fintech and general startup ecosystem around topics that are trending, topics that I deeply care about as well. And it's about love, life, and entrepreneurship in a very kind of holistic way. It's available on any podcasting platform, on Spotify and a whole range of other platforms. There's also the vlog on YouTube, on our channel on Cover Hero, and then on our website as well. So you can go to hustlecover.com and you can listen to it, you can watch the videos, can engage, and we have some very exciting guests for this year's podcast. This year we kick it off in late April. So for YouTube, the long 1 hour conversations are really, really powerful. And for audio is also very, very powerful. But then for Instagram and LinkedIn, you need shorter, sharper content. So that's our thinking.
All right, that's quite interesting, and definitely everyone listening, you must check that out. So before we let you go, so we have a project that we are currently running. We call it InsurTech Business Series, Women in Insurance Program, and really that came about because generally, I mean, and this has not just here in Nigeria, right? Even around Africa, and a number of people that we've spoken with, they've alluded to the fact that there are not so many women playing at the top level in the industry. And then we're looking at InsurTech now, and we're saying that not only not so many women playing at the top level in insurance, but even in tech, there are not so many women who are leading tech companies. And that's something that we've definitely seen. All right, so it's going to be interesting to hear, I mean, what your experience has been, as a woman, starting off on this journey, entering into the insurance space, or maybe the Australian market is quite different from the other parts of the world.
I think diversity is a challenge across the board. If we look at the top insurance companies, I can't remember a single female CEO, or from the incumbent side. Now, if we look at the InsurTech sides, there are more female InsurTech CEOs in the startup community than in the actual big incumbent companies. So that is a very sad statistic. And I think the next generation would be different, which is our generation. There are a whole range of female CEOs in InsurTech space, even just in Australia. Like, I can just say off the top of my head, 5 different female CEOs of InsurTech companies in Australia. I think Australian startup ecosystem has quite a substantial number of female CEOs, but the challenge is not whether there are female CEOs in this sector. The challenge is women don't get funding. Women get over-mentored and underfunded. And that is the real pipeline issue. The pipeline issue is the lack of capital flowing into female-led companies because of subconscious biases, systemic processes that are inbuilt that prevents women from having access to the networks. And that is one of the challenges why the industry is the way it is. And that is a real issue, because if we look at the biases that we have, and we know we have these biases, without women and diverse thought in the product design phase, we will automate and build more division into the software that we design. So it's not a nice to have, it is fundamental for humanity to have women and diverse groups represented in the product design, because if all these products are designed by one group, and those biases within that group gets built in, and that is quite dangerous.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and that's why we definitely want to engage all of this conversation and see how we can help to spur things to change, right? So yeah. So is Cover Hero looking for funds at the moment, or you just focused on getting all of these partnerships? I know you mentioned growth is funding part of that.
Yeah, we are currently in the middle of a capital raise, so it is very, very exciting time as well. So if there are anyone listening to this and the message resonates, we'll be always keen to connect, have a conversation, build relationships. I'm a big believer in building relationships and building network. So very open to that.
Great to hear that. So how can people connect with you? And you mentioned getting connected, so I know you're active on LinkedIn. Is LinkedIn a good place, or you want to share an email?
I think LinkedIn is the best place to connect with me. Also, you can connect with me on Instagram. I'm very active on Instagram, so it's my handle is Nabi Mariam. LinkedIn, my handle is also Nabi Mariam. I'm not that active on Twitter, so those would be the channels, and you can also email me. It's nabi@coverhero.com.au. So if you want to reach out, feel free to email me or reach out to me on my socials.
All right, great. It's been super amazing speaking with you, Nabi. Thank you very much for coming on.
It's such a pleasure, and this is the beauty of technology, that I could be sitting in my living room and you're in a totally different part of the world, a part of the world that I am dying to go to connect and have a conversation on something that we're both passionate about.
Yeah, great. You're welcome. You're welcome anytime. You're welcome. We don't have spiders here, so don't be scared.
Hi, InsurTech Business Series. Thank you for the good work that you're doing. Your podcasts are always interesting, thought-provoking, and educational. I am Ines, and I'm following you from Johannesburg, South Africa.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm sure that you enjoyed that conversation. I mean, it's been so exciting for me. I'd had to put this up on my social media a while ago, and a lot of people have been asking questions about how is going to be the policy holder, who is insurance for, what will the insurance cover, and how exactly are we supposed to provide insurance products and innovative products to this particular aspect of this emerging economy. And I'm sure that Nabi was able to answer the most of these questions from the conversation. She was able to analyze how it is important that this is the time that we cater to this gig economy. Damola, what was your take on?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of learnings, right? And it's important that we have that learning mindset, right? That's the first thing. That's one thing that I usually encourage, especially looking at the fact that we are looking to create new things in the insurance space. So when talking about the gig economy, it's a growing space, like she explained, and there is need for us to be purposeful and intentional about this segment and say, hey, what are their peculiarities and how can we create solutions for them that would be important to them. We were speaking of, we were talking about the fact that yes, there are life insurance products in the market. There are, all of these products in the market. But do these products cater for them? Does it make sense to them? Does it have, the consideration of their peculiarities in terms of, the flexibility of their work, the fluctuation in terms of their income and things like that. So those are some of the variables that will go into creation of all of these new products and new solutions for that segment.
So, I mean, I like the fact that you talked about the fact that it's unconventional, and then the fact that we need to look at factoring all of those peculiarities in making this insurance product and, services to this emerging market. And it just boils down to the fact that these are the things that we need to start looking at, especially in Africa. I've often heard a lot of people say, I don't think it's possible. But then this is someone that has actually proven that it is very possible. It is necessary at this point in time. And I remember when we start talking at the beginning, we're talking about people that are making impacts in some of this passion economy in the industry, for instance, the entertainment industry. And this is obviously not we're not just talking about, it's not just exclusive to this category of people. It's also to people that are having a bit of, I mean, as long as you are into one gig or the other, you could be a photographer, a food blogger, anything, as long as it's a gig and the income is not as steady. It is important. And so I think that this is the time where our insurance and insurtech startups need to start looking inward to see how to create those market experiences for people that we've acclaimed are not buying insurance. Perhaps we need to look from a different angle, that the insurance we're selling don't exactly cater to their need, and so they would obviously not participate in buying those types of insurance. But when we begin to look at, you have, for instance, somebody called, one of the social media influencers, probably called Taoma. Most of our source of income would obviously be from content creation, as well as from our cameras and all of that. So imagine you coming to sell her fire insurance, or you're asking her to come and buy motor insurance. The first thing she would want to secure would be a source of income before any other thing. And I think that this actually just brought it to the fore, that it is important for us to start assessing and harnessing and providing services to this particular market. It's emerging, and it means that there's a lot of opportunities in that market space. Something that is growing would obviously need a lot of backups, and I think this is how we can provide adequate financial services and solutions to this category of people. Damola, any other thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you just said what's on my mind, and again, it was quite an interesting conversation. I mean, I definitely will not go without mentioning the fact that yes, she's a woman, right? And we've spoken to a number of amazing women on the podcast, and very interesting how much that has been done or she's doing, currently. And we're super proud and excited to be a part of that story, even with the podcast. And there are a lot of other amazing women in the industry within Africa and even outside who are doing equally amazing stuff. And just want to use this opportunity to say kudos to you and keep it up. One of the things that we want to do again is through our InsurTech business series, Women in Insurance project, is to have a webinar which we will communicate soon to discuss about how we can tap into the value that women bring to the industry. So yeah, super excited about what the future holds, and well done Nabi, and well done to every other woman out there.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's quite important that you brought that up, and we're hoping that you also participate in it. I mean, an offshoot of the Choose to Challenge as well. This is one of the things that these women are doing in this industry, trying as much as possible to challenge status quo, thinking outside the box, and as much as possible bringing in opportunities from all parts of the world. So yes, make sure that you do attend when we send the details via our LinkedIn channel, as well as Twitter and every other social media platform. We'll be very happy to have you participate in that webinar. And on that note, I want to say thank you to everybody for your participation, for listening, as well as engagement. We sincerely appreciate that. And we're also saying that you should stay safe. As much as we don't like to admit it, there's still coronavirus. And it's also good to have a healthy mind and a healthy body as well. So try as much as possible to rest. I'm also telling Damola to take good rest as well. And, we'll stay in touch. Until next time, again, I remain Fulimi and my co-host.
Yeah, Damola, do stay safe, and don't forget to like, share, and leave a review if you enjoyed the podcast. So thank you very much, and take care of yourself.
Bye.